Welcome to this introductory video on how to use the FAIM web application, the Food Additives Intake Model developed for EFSA. FAIM is a standard tool used at the EU level to estimate chronic dietary exposure to food additives, including new additives or new uses of authorized ones, based on food consumption and occurrence data. In this video, we'll walk through a complete example of how to input your data, run the exposure calculation, and export the results. When you first open the application, you'll land on the Overview tab. Here, you'll find a brief description of the application, links to the relevant documentation, and a change log with updates for each version. At the top of the screen, there is a navigation bar. On the left-hand side, you can access the different sections of the app. On the right, you'll find quick access buttons, a link to the user manual, a button to report issues, and there's another reference for the tool. Let's move to the Data Entry tab. This page is divided into two sections. On the left, there is an information panel that briefly explain the steps needed to run the analysis. On the right, there is the interactive table for data input and an action bar above it. As mentioned earlier, exposure estimates are based on two inputs: food consumption and occurrence data. Food consumption data is automatically retrieved from the EFSA Comprehensive Food Consumption Database, which includes national dietary surveys across EU countries. Occurrence data, on the other hand, refers to the concentration of food additives for each relevant food category. This is the information that users need to provide. Please ensure all values are expressed in milligrams per kilogram. These inputs are then combined to calculate summary statistics for each country, survey, and population group. Results are presented under three scenarios. First, we have the total population scenario. This includes all individuals and gives us a broad picture of exposure across the full population. Then there is the exposed consumers scenario. This one only includes individuals who actually had some exposure to the additives, meaning they consumed foods that contain it. It helps to focus on those who were effectively exposed, filtering out the zero values. Finally, we have the consumers of a specific food category scenario. This one is more target. It includes only individuals who consumed at least one of the food categories that were specifically marked for this scenario. How to select those categories will be shown in a moment when we cover the consumers of checkbox in the data entry table. You can enter occurrence data in two ways: manually through the table in the right side, or by uploading a structured Excel file. We'll cover both options in this video. In both the table and the Excel template, each row represents a food category as defined by EU food additive legislation. The first two columns provide the category code and name. Then, you can input the use level in milligrams per kilogram in the third column and indicate whether that category should be included in the consumers of a specific food category scenario by ticking the checkbox in the last column. The interface includes built-in validations. If any error or warning appear, they'll be shown in the bottom left corner, along with helpful explanations. Let's take a moment to look more closely at the two main fields you'll be working when entering your data. The first one is the use level, as indicated previously, expressed in milligrams per kilogram. This field is where you enter the concentration of the food additive for each selected food category. Just click on the cell and type the value. for example, 100 milligrams per kilogram. When you are done entering a value, simply press enter or click outside the cell to confirm it. You can also move between cells using the arrow keys once a cell is selected. For the consumers of column, you can press enter to toggle the checkbox on or off. The second field is the consumers of checkbox column. By ticking this box, you are telling the application that the selected food category should be used to define a subpopulation. To find a specific food category, you can scroll through the table or use the search bar at the top. You can search by name or by code. Let's try it. For example, type processed in the filter. Now we see all the categories containing that word. If we search for chocolate instead, just one category shows up. We can enter a value for the chocolate category, for example, and reset the filter by clicking the X icon in the search field. Likewise, to focus on supplement categories, we can type 17 in the code column, and the table will show only the relevant food categories. As soon as we enter a use level for the category 17.2, the tool automatically fills in the parent category 17 to meet validation rules, and a warning appears to explain why. This is just one of several validation rules built into the application. For a full overview, please refer to the user manual. You'll also notice that the consumers of checkbox becomes available only once a use level has been provided. So if we try to tick the checkbox for a category without a use level, nothing happens. If you check the box for a subcategory, as we have done in this example, its parent category will also be selected automatically, and a warning will appear to explain this behavior. As mentioned before, this is just one of several validation rules built into the application. For a full overview, please refer to the user manual. The consumers of columns is particularly relevant for the food supplements category. This feature was originally introduced to allow the evaluation of exposure in subpopulations that consume food supplements. Later on, to increase flexibility, the functionality was extended to all food categories. Thus, now it can be used to assess exposure for any specific subgroup based on their dietary habits. Now let's see how to upload data using the Excel template. First, click Reset to clear the table. Click on Download Template. This will download the file in your system, fill it in Excel, and then use the Upload File button to import your data. In this example, I'm using a pre-filled data file that I prepared previously. As soon as the file is uploaded, the data will be validated. If any issues are found, you'll see some notifications at the bottom left corner. As you can see, the table updates with the new values. Now let's try uploading a file that contains some errors. First, click Reset to clear the table, and then upload the new file. The tool shows warning and errors to help you understand what went wrong and how to fix it. If errors are displayed, it means the file wasn't uploaded correctly, so you'll need to fix the issues in Excel and upload it again. For example, here we see an error because a use level was entered as a negative number in the line 8, which is not allowed. That will need to be corrected. In the second error, we see that one of the use levels contains a non-numeric value. In this case, someone typed a word instead of a number. If there are only warnings, you can either adjust the data directly in Excel or edit it within the table before proceeding. Let's now upload a file containing only warning messages. As you can see, the file was imported successfully, but a few warning messages appeared. If we read the notifications carefully, we see that some child categories under cheese and cheese products were assigned a use label and marked as consumers of, but the parent category was left empty. No use label was provided and the checkbox wasn't selected either. If we ignore these warnings and click Calculate Exposure, these issues will be treated as errors and the calculation won't proceed. So let's fix them first. We'll start by adding a use label for the parent category 1.7. When we do that, you'll see that one of the warnings disappears, but one still remains. To fix that one too, we'll go ahead and check the Consumers Of box for the same parent category. Now that both warnings are resolved, we're ready to launch the exposure calculation. Let's click the Calculate Exposure button. When you do, a progress bar will appear in the bottom left corner of the screen. Behind the scenes, the application connects to EFSA's consumption database, combines your input data with the consumption figures, and performs the exposure calculations. This process might take a few minutes, depending on the amount of food categories you include in the analysis. As soon as they are ready, you'll be automatically redirected to the results view. Here, the results are organized into different views. Some display tables with detailed exposure values, while others show visual summaries like bar charts and contribution graphs. At the top, you can switch between subpopulation scenarios. For now, we'll stay with the total population view, but feel free to explore the others at any time. We'll now walk through some of these results together. In the Exposure Summary tab, we see population level exposure estimates and min-max plots for two key statistics: average exposure, which represent the average intake across the selected population, and the 95th percentile exposure, which shows the value below which 95% of the population falls. The plots help us to visualize these values and understand their distribution across population groups. In the Exposure Result tab, you'll find a table with detailed exposure estimates per country, survey, and population group, including both average and 95th percentile values. At the top bar, there is an option called Highlight Cells with Few Subjects. If we activate this, the table will automatically highlight results that are based on very small sample sizes. Specifically, it will flag cases where there are fewer than 6 individuals for average exposure estimates, or fewer than 60 individuals for estimates at the 95th percentile. These values are still shown, but they are marked with a warning to let you know that they may be less reliable due to the limited number of subjects. Just like for other tables in the app, you can filter it to focus on specific population groups like toddlers, or sorted by country or survey. And in case you want to sort by more than one column at the same time, just hold down Shift in your keyboard while clicking on additional columns headers. Next, let's explore the Sources Results tab. Here you'll find a table that shows how much each food category contributes to the total mean exposure, broken down by population group, country, and survey. This helps you identify which food categories are driving exposure the most. You can filter this table just like the others to explore specific groups or food codes. Let's now look at the graphs. In the tab Graph Average Exposure, we see a bar chart of means exposures by country and population group. Each bar represents a survey. You can hover them for more details. At the top, filters let you select one or more population groups or countries. For example, selecting toddlers and other children will update the graph accordingly. Some countries have more than one survey. Germany, for example, shows 2 bars. Hovering over them reveals that one bar is for the Schema survey and the other for the VELS survey. If we now navigate to the graph's 95th percentile exposure, you'll see that this works exactly the same way, but instead of showing average values, it shows exposure at the 95th percentile. The filters you applied in the previous graph are also carried over here. And lastly, in the Sources Graph tab, you'll see a stack bar showing the contribution of each food category to overall exposure. Hovering over the chart will reveal more detailed information. Finally, let's export the results. To do that, let's click the Download Results button and choose your preferred format, Excel or HTML. The Excel file contains all the results we've seen, each section in a separate tab, as well as a copy of the input data. This makes it easy to reproduce the results later or share them with others. You may notice that the values in the Excel export include more decimal places than those displayed in the app. That's because in the application, all results are rounded to 3 decimal places for readability. In the export file, however, we keep all available decimal places. This is simply for transparency. It doesn't mean that the exposure estimates are more accurate. The HTML report, on the other hand, provides an offline version of the results presented with the same structure and layout as in the application. That concludes this tutorial. If you'd like to learn more, don't hesitate to check the user manual available directly within the application. Thank you for using FAIM.